Riding fresh off the heels of Season 5, My Hero Academia World Heroes delivers on telling a great story while exploring new elements. Although the main plot may not be new in any way, how it's told will surely captivate fans of the franchise. World Heroes mission takes you on an emotional rollercoaster every opportunity it gets, while staying true to its core. Both the actors and the animators went plus ultra for this movie. The tone of the movie is set as soon as it starts with the introduction of Human Rise, a terrorist organization set on purging the world of all quirk users. After setting off a bomb killing only humans with quirks, the heroes around the world band together to stop them from setting off more. But things take an unexpected turn when Deku is framed for murder. The main thing that stuck out to me while watching this movie is how it dived deeper into why sometimes people do bad things. With the introduction of Ryan Colt Levy's character, RODY Soul, a petty criminal who loves to use his charm to get whatever he wants. RODY opens Deku's eyes a little bit more as to why some people may turn to a life of crime. When Deku is on the run from being framed for murder, the two end up being stuck together, and their characters act as a yin and a yang. Throughout their journey, we see time and time again, RODY trying to persuade Deku to bend the rules just a little bit, even if they won't hurt anyone. But as hard as he tries, Deku never gives in, not once. As a matter of fact, the two become better people because of one another. Deku shows RODY that it's never too late to change, and people can still do good for one another despite how things may look. And RODY shows Deku that in life, sometimes people are dealt the short stick and have to do what's necessary to put food on the table to feed their family, even if that means being ashamed of yourself. With how much time these two characters spent together, the movie itself could have been a buddy road trip filled with heartfelt moments that will leave you laughing and crying. You'll find yourself rooting more and more for RUDY and wanting to know more about him after the movie is finished. As a fan of the show, it shouldn't be a surprise that Deku, Shoto, and Bakugo all strive to be the #1 hero. Both the voice actors in the booth and the characters in the movie showcase that even more, with all three pushing themselves beyond of what they're capable of to earn that #1 spot. One thing that stood out was the lengths David Matrenga, the voice of Shoto, went. Throughout the show, even with prior movies, we hear a more laid-back version of himself. Even when he's fighting, we don't really get to hear too much of a battle cry. But for World Heroes missions, Matrenga stepped up more than he previously ever had for Shoto Todoroki, and it's noticeable. The sheer amount of emotion he put into his character with every battle cry and every fight, you can tell that he went above and beyond for this movie. The same goes for Justin Briner, the voice of Izuku Midoriya, and Clifford Chapin, the voice of Bakugo. There's plenty of moments throughout the whole movie that will leave you smiling because of something inspirational Briner says, or at the edge of your seat because of how he delivered a line. Lastly, as for Clifford Chapin, you know you're in for a good time whenever Bakugo's in a scene. Chapin always hits the mark when Bakugo is making fun of his friends, or just simply talking smack whenever he gets a chance to. Not to mention, hearing him go fully off the rails during a fight scene is always fun to hear. But of course, what's an animated movie without its fight scenes? World Heroes Missions does a great job of showing off how far these heroes have gotten. Although they're all far from being the pro heroes they all want to be, it's clear that they all have made significant progress. Throughout the movie, they're put in dire situations that have you thinking that they're right at death's doors plenty of times, just for them to break their limits and to push on even further. By showing off new tricks they learned at UA and coming up with new plans in the middle of a fight was great to watch. We see a totally unhinged Bakugo go all out with zero regard for how much damage he does. We see Shoto having to come up with new fighting strategies when nothing else works. And lastly, we see Deku push to the very edge and possibly another stage of One for All. The only complaint that could be made is that the plot was somewhat predictable. It's easy to tell a lot of the times when the twists or turns are going to be made. The overall plot isn't really anything new at all. It's evil villains threaten to destroy the world. Seeing the motives for the main villains was something we've seen time and time again in the show, but this time it was just painted a little bit different. It's easy to compare the motivations of these villains to the Meta Liberation Army, but the only difference is they want to get rid of quirks. The movie very much feels like the hero's version of the My Villain Academia arc, where the villains faced off the Meta Liberation Army during the latter half of Season 5. But even though it was still predictable, the way in which it's told is great. While we don't see too many of the pro heroes such as Hawks, Endeavor, and Fat Gum, or other classmates such as Uraraka, Momo, or Kirishima, what little we do see of them speaks volumes. Even though the movie isn't really about any of them except Deku, Todoroki, or Bakugo, we do see why all these side characters are important. They stand out in their own way, showing how badly and how far they're willing to go to save the day, as well as how important they are to each other and how much they depend on one another to keep them motivated to keep fighting. Even though the rest of the cast is given a little bit of screen time, what little they show speaks volumes in the movie and helps build the anticipation for the next scene. It's always a great treat when you find yourself in awe of the background and the animations in a movie like this. It's clear that there was love all around for the movie and the animation team did a fantastic job at doing that. The world they built looks so alive with all the color and shading done. It feels like you can go right into the screen and touch the water moving through the river or a blade of grass moving through the wind. It reminded me of a Studio Ghibli film with how much detail they put into making the world feel so alive. Another part where the animation shines is the action scenes. In some of the fight scenes, you can really tell that they went all out and making a spectacle out of them. It was awesome seeing Deku swing through the air with his newfound powers, or Bakugo flying and destroying enemies in his path, and Shoto making an elaborate ice path for his enemies to get stuck in. My Hero Academia: World Heroes Missions is a truly must-see movie if you're a fan of the franchise. It does a great job of character development, it has amazing fight scenes, and the animation is spectacular. The movie is filled with tons of moments that will leave you at the edge of your seat and smiling like a dork. With all that being said, we here at the Geek Press give this movie a 9 out of 10. For more anime news, be sure to follow me on Twitter at @Luis follow us on Instagram and Twitter at The Geek Press, and be sure to like this video and subscribe for more geeky content. I'm Luis Gutierrez, signing off.